In the last few days, since Raila Odinga announced his candidature for the position of AU Commission Chair, quite some activity has taken place in the country. From speculation about who else is in the running from the East African region to the lobbying that will need to take place at the continental stage. But what followed at home was a most unexpected stampede, only reminiscent of the annual wildebeest migration in the Masai Mara Game Reserve. And the news having burst the headlines in the week of Valentine's Day, political passions wafted in confusing patterns as rival political sides collided in a dust-raising spectacle of collective love and support for Odinga's AU bid. Any objective ringside observer will tell you that what was on display is, to paraphrase someone out there, was peculiarly Kenyan. Foes turned friends and insults turned into praises in the blink of a Kenyan second. There was this sudden departure from the din of the acerbic pre- and post-election atmosphere. Do you remember the words that were exchanged? At some point, there was downright disrespect and insults exchanged. And now suddenly, they're calling press conferences to announce their support for his continental job bid. Even cabinet secretaries are vowing to do all in their power to get him elected. So what is my point? Well, nothing is ever as it seems in politics. So please do not bear arms in defense of your favorite politician. There is no need to get into online battles with others, setting each other straight and having Twitter takedowns of each other simply because you support different politicians on either side of the aisle. One day they threaten each other and hurl epithets. The next they're full of praises. What we have witnessed this week actually reminded me of an experience I had as a practicing journalist. The year is 2014. And two members of parliament I'm hosting on a talk show are going at each other. It was part of what had become typical duels at the time. Two MPs from the same alliance, but different parties, debating each other over the allocation of government posts following the election. Now, as they went for each other's necks, in a manner of speaking, so did the people on Twitter. I remember following the comments and seeing how the supporters of each MP were also going after each other, sometimes even losing sight of the initial argument, and now becoming downright nasty with each other in support of either of these two MPs in this live television debate. But it is what happened when the show was over that I would have loved for my Twitter audience to see. They broke out into those big bro hugs, the loud handshake that's followed by a shoulder bump. One told the other, leo menilima sana, as they both break out in some hearty belly laughter. Huko kwa rallies lakini uniwezi mimi, the other one replied. Next time you won't beat me. And then they left the studio, holding hands, swinging them back and forth like happy little children. And I heard them plan for where they were going to enjoy a drink for the rest of the night. Meanwhile, the people on Twitter were still at it, with the comments thread growing longer and longer as they continued to trade insults. Folks, this is how things work in the world. That incident from 2014 and the recent events of this week with MPs who once had rather unkind things to say about Raila Odinga, now showering him with praises, shows you only one thing. Where a politician stands depends on where he sits. And that'll change from 1 month to the next, and even one day to the next. From discounting Raila's part in Kenya's democratic quest to now acknowledging it and hailing him as the best for Africa? Surely, how does one change their mind on such fundamentals with the flip of a switch? And where does this leave those who stood with them on either side? Also, what would happen should Raila's quest for this job not succeed? Do we go back to factory settings? Folks, this is why Senator Jackson Mandago, when he was governor, told us, tuweke siasa kwa lungs. This is why there is no need for any of us to get ourselves in a twist when they're going after each other. Because, you see, it seems we're a former single-party state, and it would seem we remain very much defined by our DNA. And that is manifested at times like these. So when watching all these guys go after each other, presumably differing with each other, my take is this: it's never that serious. It can change anytime. In fact, it often does. So, ka kitako, grab some popcorn and watch the drama unfold. That's my take.